Hello again, everybody. This is the coach Shannon Griffith. Thank you for joining me here this evening on Upon Further Review. Hope everybody is getting ready for a great big holiday with Thanksgiving coming up here on tomorrow. I guess I could say. I guess it's already on us. So if you are joining us tonight via one of the chat rooms, by all means, please feel like you can join in by putting in any comments or suggestions this evening, as well as any questions you might have as we took a look at the Purdue Boilermakers tonight to get everybody ready for the opportunity to hear Indiana with a chance to get back to a victory, as they have yet to beat Purdue in the night over since 2019, I believe it is. So big game here on Saturday evening, 7:30 start on Fox Sports 1. Bundle up because it's going to be a very chilly and frigid night down in Bloomington on Saturday. So get ready for that aspect of things weather-wise, but it's going to be a nice and chilly night there in Memorial Stadium. Bring in their blankets and things to bundle you up. And again, I do hope the crowd shows up for these young men entering their final home game of the year, as well as a potential playoff berth in the college football playoffs. It's well deserved, and it's time that they get back to the winning ways, as well as recapture the bucket. First time since 2019. Want to talk a little bit about thanks to Bet Online. This Thanksgiving holiday, why not head to the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting, Bet Online. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with the constant real-time odds and action and the ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds and everything from college football, NFL, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, and boxing. Head to the website today to see why BetOnline is America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. And again, thanks for their support of the Hoosier football tailgate, as well as our affiliates that you can find on our link tree in our bios at Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, and then our website, HoosierTailgate.com. Well, let's get into this ball game here this Saturday with the Hoosiers coming into this game falling to number 10 overall in the college football rankings. Both AP and the College Football Coaches Association, or the coaches top 25. And then last night, the release of the college football playoffs seedings and things of that nature. The Indiana Hoosiers come in at 10 there with a ranking, but are seated 11th in the overall scheme of things, dropping five spots as well with that loss to Ohio State. Those that have jumped in front of Indiana, of course, Georgia, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Miami, SMU. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're not going to get into it a bunch because I think enough's been said about it. And again, it doesn't really mean anything until all the final games are complete and a true picture of who is in and who is out is more satisfied. I do believe that Indiana, unless they would lose to Purdue, is firmly in the college football playoffs. The question will be, where do they potentially land in the final ranking of this year? But we'll get to that in a second. Already talked about this for a little bit already, is the fact that Indiana has not beaten Purdue since 2019, and I believe that was a double overtime win in 2019. So it's been quite a while. We're talking a group of players that I don't think have had any success with winning the bucket back from Purdue. And this ball game, on top of its meaning from the standpoint of the rivalry, it also has so much significance when it comes to being in the college football playoffs. That is the championship that Indiana is playing for on Saturday evening, is a chance to get in the college football playoffs. And hopefully that can be solidified on Saturday evening. But 2019 is a long time in this series. For Indiana, last year at this time, they had gone through the final acknowledgement that they were making a change, and tough ball game in West Lafayette. And it just kind of went the way the Hoosier season had went last year, with a lot of opportunities that came and went, and never had a chance to really close out the deal against Purdue as they won that ball game a year ago. But Indiana does have plenty of motivation this Saturday there at Memorial Stadium, with the chance to right the ship in the rivalry. But the biggest one is to claim a spot in the college football playoffs. That is the championship for them. For them to be in the Big Ten championship, Ohio State would have to lose to Michigan, and Penn State would have to lose to Maryland. So those would be the two dynamics that would automatically kick in, Indiana into the Big Ten championship game, which I do not see happening from the standpoint of where everything is. Had Penn State lost to Minnesota, that may have opened the door in that regard, but it didn't. So we're going to have to worry about what we have control over Saturday, and that is Purdue and our chances of taking advantage of that. Weather forecast, again, like I said, I looked it up today. There's going to be some rain in the Bloomington and potentially snow on tonight and Thursday, more or less of a dusting. And then it looks like on Saturday, it's going to be a rather dry day, but the high on Saturday is only to reach 31 degrees with a low potentially overnight of 17. So you've got to think that the time that ball game starts on Saturday, we're going to be well in the 20s, in decreasing as the game goes on. How does that impact a game? Well, it impacts it in a couple ways. Number one, throwing the football is difficult in that type of weather. It's everything from gripping the ball to catching the ball. It becomes a little bit more slippery because of the weather. If there's no dampness in the air, that also can play a part in it. And then, so this is where a game, like we've always said, in the months of November, in order for you to be a successful football team, you have to be able to run the football, period. Full stop. You have to. If you cannot run the ball in November with any type of success, you're in trouble, because the chances of being a team that's going to load up with a bunch of yardage on the outside in terms of throwing the football, it's very unlikely. But we'll see. But I think Indiana is going to have success running the football. Wanted to get down here. Let's see if we can get over here to my other screen as I bring it back up. And this is taking a look here at the Purdue two deep. Hudson Card is a heck of a quarterback. He's got a great arm. I'll show you some clips later. He is also very elusive in the pocket. He does have the ability to pull it down and run, but his first objective for him is to throw the football. The kid that I'd have more concern about, and he's played throughout the season. As a matter of fact, he played the entire game for the most part against Illinois, is the 6'4", 210 freshman Ryan Brown. He can run the football in your spread attack. quarterback read stuff. He can threaten the corner as well as throw it. And against Illinois, they had trouble stopping him in the run game. So he is definitely a guy that I do think Indiana will see. I think they'll see both of them, but I think the Brown kid may be a little bit better of a choice just from what he gives Purdue in their run game. We know about Maccabee, the junior. It seems like he's been there forever. Really good running back, as is Reggie Love. Jamal, number 7, the 6'2", 215-pound number 7. He is their big play guy for the most part. You can see his type of catches for him are going to be on the outside, jump ball situations, and they'll use him to match people up against. So he is a weapon for him. The Rigby kid, who's just a freshman, really good speed, as does Tibbs and as does C.J. Smith. Wide receiver core is, I would say, above average. So they're pretty good. And then you throw into this whole group, Max Clare, their tight end. This kid is electric, and only a sophomore. He makes a lot of plays, and they use him quite a bit in the passing game as a target. And so Indiana is going to have to make sure that their secondary is aware and keeps things in front of them, because Purdue can be a big play type of team with what they like to do. Defensively, the Brevard kid up front is a beast. 6'3", 333 pounds. He does a lot of disruption. They rotate a lot of guys in their lineup, but he is a beast, as is Jenkins, the linebacker. Hudson Miller is a good player, solid player, not going to hurt you. And then, of course, Dylan Theinman, the sophomore kid out of Indiana, who is their quote-unquote free safety. That kid's a ball player. He makes plays in space. He covers. He does it all. And he was a heck of a freshman last year, and especially against Indiana, because I want to say I think he had 2 interceptions a year ago against Indiana. Number 6, the freshman DB, is a target guy that I would think Indiana will try to exploit, being that he's a freshman. And he's only a 6-footer, not to say that he's bad or anything, but he's a guy that I do think Indiana will try to match up somebody there with him on the outside to try to get some plays down the field. Surratt, those type of players that have some height and some body to them. The other person that I think Indiana has to try to target more is Horton. He's got to be involved in the passing game. He is almost a forgotten foe in some respects, and they got to get back to making sure that he's in routes that they can target, get the ball out of Curtis Rourke's hand, and try to find ways to shorten the passing game, especially Saturday if the weather is the way it is projected to be. And we'll finish up tonight. We'll look at some video of this Purdue with this Purdue team. Excuse me. To go over a couple games, I chose the Illinois game and the Northwestern game. Ohio State handled them and, did what they wanted to do against Purdue very forcefully and dictated the whole ball game. And that's what Indiana's going to have to do. But I chose to look at Illinois and Northwestern, 2 games that Purdue went into overtime with, both those teams, and ended up losing those games in OT. So this is a team that's very fragile. It's a team that has had, in some respects, their heart ripped out because they come so close, and yet they're so far from getting that another win. They won the first game of the year against Indiana State, and from that point forward, it's been 9 straight losses and heading into the bucket game. So a fragile team like this, and a team that Indiana is favored somewhat 28 points favored in this ball game, they cannot give this Purdue team any hope in this ball game. They have to control from the start. They have to exert their will. They have to get in the point where each drive is a selective nail being driven in the coffin of Purdue, because if they don't do that and Purdue can just hang around, they will smell blood and it will be a dogfight. And that's what happened in the Illinois game. Illinois was up 27-3 in the third quarter. And by the time that quarter ended, I believe it was tied because Illinois could not put them away. And Purdue got hot, ended up putting that game into overtime because Illinois, with 40 seconds left in the game, went 3 plays down the field, had a big 3rd and 17 that they converted to get into field goal range to tie the game up. And so that's some of the games that this group has lost, some heartbreaking, rip your heart out type of deals. So we'll take a look at that game and some of those plays in those games just to get familiar with Purdue and what I think you'll see them we can expect from them Saturday, as well as look at some of the things that we've got ahead of us here as we get into this schedule this year with Purdue this Saturday. Let's go some of these schedules here on, there we go. See if we can get to that part and get the schedule up here real quick. It's coming. A little slow tonight. 2 Friday games, Minnesota, Wisconsin. That's a game to keep an eye on. And Nebraska and Iowa should be a dandy. That's at 7:30 on Friday. And that's going to be a really cold ball game as well. Saturday, every team is playing in the Big Ten with 2 teams playing out of conference, USC and UCLA. The USC Notre Dame game is something also to keep an eye on, because if USC can beat Notre Dame, I do believe Notre Dame is in jeopardy of dropping complete out, but we'll see. Buckeyes and Wolverines are a noon kickoff, as is Northwestern and Illinois. And then you got Penn State versus Maryland at 3:30. Rutgers and Michigan State also in that 3:30 slot. Those 2 games, Notre Dame is at USC, so that is in LA. So that's going to be, I think, a 3:30 game Eastern time. So that'll be a 12:30 kickoff out west. And then, of course, the final games on the schedule, Purdue and Indiana kicking off at 7:30 on Fox Sport 1, and then Wisconsin and Oregon. This will be an interesting game to see how far this Washington team has come. They're bowl eligible. They put some wins together. They've got a stingy defense. So it'll be interesting to see how that all falls into the picture for this game on Saturday. So that's a look at those games coming in to this weekend. So big games with everything. The one thing I do want to look at here again is some of the things that have come over the wire, per se, I guess you could see. The first one I want to get to here is, whoops, that's not the one. Let's take that one out of there. Let's get this one up. Let's see if this one comes up. There we go. Here's the breakdown of the Purdue Indiana matchup. As you can see there, the probability of success for Indiana is very high, with a 47 predicted score on the table. Indiana ranking highly in all statistical categories in this breakdown, and Purdue's offense at times has been decent, but you can see the difference of all that when it comes to the matchup between these 2 teams. And Indiana, I do believe, has a significant advantage on turnover margin. I think they are I think they're a +9 now overall, but they have about a 6 to 7 point differential than Purdue. Purdue is a -9 on the year. So they are a team that has turned it over quite a bit. Fumbles, not as many interceptions, mostly fumbles on the ground for Purdue. But the predictability here has Indiana winning this ball game in a very cushion area for Indiana. Here's a look at the playoff bracket that was released last night. as you can see here with some of the people that have the bye. Now, this one's projecting that Miami, who was rated 6, that gets a 3rd seed, is because of them being, in some respects, the ACC championship team. Now, they will play SMU, so that is a very fluid spot there in terms of how and what may end up occurring, as is Boise at number 11, because they could drop to 12, and that's where you could see a Clemson sneak in the back door as well. And I said something about that on the other night where they had them, because if they would beat South Carolina, that would be a big win in their game. They're going to finish 9-3, I believe it is, and or 10-2, and they would maybe sneak in the back door even ahead of Arizona State at this point in time. So Indiana at 11 seed right now would be scheduled to go to Happy Valley to play the Nittany Lions. I would prefer Indiana and Notre Dame. I like that matchup better in state. I think that would be a great matchup. Indiana and Notre Dame have never played. That would be a cool scenario. And then on the other seed side, Tennessee and Georgia back against each other. And then that Ohio State and whoever's going to be the 12th team in that deal. But really, Ohio State as a 5 seed would say has a pretty easy path potentially to get to the quarterfinals. And that's an interesting dynamic in this diagram. Now, the other thing that I'm going to show you the slide here as it pertains to what I just saw on resume comparison and Joe Klatt's show today. He was very supportive of Indiana and feels that they were dropped too far when you compare resumes. And if numbers and best wins are going to make a difference in calculating a equal team at 10-1, Indiana is a better resume than SMU. And in his light, just something to show you here in real quick is Mr. Joe Klatt in a video follow-up to that tweet. I thought Joe Klatt's explanation of his feeling when it comes to Indiana and how they stack up against some of the teams that are ranked before them shows you that Indiana, from an all practical purposes in this college football playoffs, is not being held to a standard that is across the board similar to the other teams. Miami's ahead of them because of Cam Ward. Period. That's the only reason Miami's up as high as they are. SMU is up above Indiana, and you could probably exchange the two for better of arguments because I think they're pretty much equally matched. But if you look at the resume, Indiana has a better resume than about 3 or 4 other teams. And I just don't think they're getting their due when it comes to the college football playoff committee because I think the noise on the outside is affecting it. So it is what it is on that. We'll get back to it because it doesn't mean anything until you beat Purdue. I keep harping on that because it's such a vital component to this game coming up. Let's see. But I do think that's the the analysis that he was giving is the fact that Indiana has a better resume than um, a lot of teams in front of them. Let's get over here to the stat comparisons that we have here for both these teams. From the offensive standpoint, you can see there's quite a big difference. And Purdue is throwing the football rather successfully on the year. And Indiana, the last couple games in the rushing department, has really hurt their average. A team that was well over 200 yards a game is down to 168. It's got to happen on Saturday. They have got to have an explosive running game Saturday. Lawton, Ellison, I don't care, get Black in there as well. But right now you can see there's quite a bit of differential there. Indiana on third down still has really good success on their third down efficiency and fourth down when they've gone for it. And then you can see the differentials there with some of the interceptions and fumbles lost. So how that all works. Points off a turnover, 73-13, and then red zone touchdown. Indiana 83%. Purdue is only at 53%. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, comparing the two teams, again, Indiana's defense, and I want to congratulate Brian Haynes being nominated for a Broyles Award as one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. Well deserving. He's put in the work, and he's had a couple years to show that he's a pretty good defensive coordinator. Rushing defense, again, that's been Indiana's strength through all year. They've ran into some passing issues of late, but not overly concerning when you look at total defense. And again, their third down and fourth down efficiency is phenomenal. They've got 18 turnovers on the year. They've only given up 10 to produce 59 points off of turnovers. And then again, look at this. Purdue's when you get into the red zone against Purdue, you got a 70% chance of getting it in the end zone against them. So that is a pretty telling sign when you think about all this from Indiana's standpoint as it comes to their ability. Even in these dynamics of things right here, Indiana is a better resume than Miami and SMU, and then potentially even Notre Dame. So I was a little surprised at the drop, but it is what it is in that regard. Let's get over here, talk a little bit about this Purdue offense. Let's see, I got to get to my. There we go. Again, this is a game that was about 3 weeks ago, because after this they did have a bye. But you're going to see that this is a play that every team has ran, where they've gotten either a back out in the flat on nobody covering him, to other teams running the tailback in the flat and getting nobody covering them. It's been kind of amazing. Now, one thing with Purdue is they will bring pressure. They're not going to overload you, because this one right here, when you slow it down, is they're just bringing this boundary guy, and he's coming up to play him, and this guy's hanging, and this guy's hanging in the pitcher. So you got to know where to go with the ball, where your one-on-one is in this instance, and he didn't get the ball away, and they were able to get a big sack. Okay, here's a chance for them on a 3rd and 20. 3rd and 20, and Purdue is bringing a 4-man rush, even though it may look like a little bit of a zone pressure, but they are playing a little bit of a man concept and drag, but this is 3rd down and 20, and they throw it over the top for a corner route. I mean, that's the type of things that this defense has given up this year. Again, here's a throw into the flat, nobody there for the back. It's easy touchdown, and they have not corrected this mistake all year. I've seen this play ran by other teams, and that's the one thing about college coaches. We are thieves when it comes to seeing things work. We're going to steal it, because if you keep showing that you can't cover a play, it's definitely going in situations. And this one right here is what we just call a roll pass, and it's a very simple concept, and they should have called interference in the end zone. The guy tackled him. Here's 27. Nothing, and then Purdue is very opportunistic there, picking up a scoop and score here. A very critical time in the game. Look at it, 7:33 left. They're only up 17, and this play right here enables them to get within 10 with 7 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. Now, look at it, and it's already the 4th quarter. Whoops, sorry about that. And now Altmaier scores, and you think, okay, we're all set and ready to go. So Purdue has scored in that period of time. This is Northern or Illinois' chance to try to get a field goal to send in overtime. First play after the kickoff. Whoops, sorry about that. First play after the kickoff. They go after number 2 in this instance and get a big play over the top. And again, this is what Illinois and Purdue have faced. Again, this is the biggest play right here, because it's 3rd and 17 on the same drive. They had a couple penalties, and Purdue is just kind of playing a soft man across the board. When, that's just a soft man. And for the most part, they play it pretty good. And they're spying Altmaier, and he just finds a guy wide open. And that was the thing that allowed them to get the, let's see here. This is okay. I know what I wanted to do there. Hold on. This is some of the clips of Purdue's offense in this game. This is that Brown kid, number 7, throwing it up over the top, double move. And he's not a speedster, but he's got such a long stride that he's a very capable receiver. They will throw trick plays. This is the one declare. No one's on him. Again, Purdue's down by 10, and this cat gets them all the way down. They score there. Now it's 34-20, up 14 in the 4th quarter. And then nice throw here. This is the Brown kid. This isn't the number 1 guy. And then a good wheel route out of the backfield with Maccabee here. They're going to run a wheel route. Very well conceived play action, and he comes right through the B gap, and he hits him right there on the wheel route. Very good play. Use number 7 as a decoy, and then they run a wheel route, and that was right before overtime. Then here's a big play, first play after Illinois went up. Maccabee gets down to the 3, and then they score. Purdue scores there, and then they go for 2 and get stopped. And I agree with that. So this is their game against Northwestern here real quick. And again, First play of the game, double move, throw it up over the top. And again, that's number 9, the other kid that's pretty good. But this is one thing defensively that Northwestern did this game. They were very aggressive, just like they were against Indiana. And they were able to keep Purdue in check on certain situations. Here they're bringing a pressure, almost get to him, 50-50 ball, and they come down with it again. That's number 9. That's the other threat that they have on the outside. And this kid can rip it. Look at that throw. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, that throw, right hash, all the way to the left boundary on a rope. So this kid can throw it. And he threw it last year against Indiana with pretty good success. Again, and I don't think Purdue's just been they can't get out of the way of themselves this year for whatever reason, because their talent level is not bad. Their offensive line is okay, but their skill positions, they got some skill guys that can pick it up and put it down when they want to. And again, up and over for number 7. That's the ball that they're going to go to. They're going to try to find him in a one-on-one, and this is a great throw. So, again, they've done a great job of setting up their offense to have success, and he almost gets his tight end clipped off there. Hold on. I want to get down here a little bit. Again, aggressive, some twist, but there's going to be holes for their offense, the offense, because of how they play. Here's a good look at their structure. You know, they're listed as a 3-4, but they'll play an odd front, but they'll also play some even fronts, and this is an even front where Northwestern does a great job. Big gainer to get it to first down, and then they come right back and run it the next play, next way, and his kid splits it and goes out the gate, and 64-yard run. I think that was what it was for a touchdown against Purdue. So Purdue's defense has been bitten by people that could run the ball against them, but giving up big plays, whether in the passing game or the run game. Again, the tight end. That's what I'm saying. You got to get the tight end involved in the offense because he's such a great target. And I think Horton is one of those guys that can get it done for this game on Saturday with Purdue. It's an important part of the deal that Indiana, with what they do offensively, they've got to get back to the quick timing throws where Curtis can pick it and throw it, whether it's bubble screens, quick screens on the outside, throwing 3-step drops. Of course, the RPOs are always going to be a part of the equation for Indiana and need to be. But right now, Indiana has to be able to run the ball with high efficiency on Saturday for them to have a chance of winning this ball game against the Boilermakers and get a first win since 2019. Here's some things that I think how Indiana wins on Saturday. They have to establish the run game. I think that of emphasis, that enough. Have to protect the quarterbacks. No sacks in this game. They've given up way too many in 2 games. They've got to minimize the sacks. They need to score 35 points or more, rush for 200, throw for 200, and get a 400 total game. On defense, they must be conscious of contain. They cannot let the Brown kid come in and run roughshod all over them because they're losing contain. And they need to hold to Purdue to what Indiana's given up rushing yards, about 72 a game, 200 yards passing, but 272 yards overall, and hold Purdue to 10 points. And special teams, get back to winning the hidden yardage. Last Saturday against Ohio State was a plus 21 in hidden yardage on Saturday, and try to score or set up a score in the kicking game. So that's going to be a big emphasis for Indiana to get back on the right track, to solidify their place in the college football playoffs, and perhaps even move up if they do the things they're needed to do to take care of Purdue. And if they play the way they can play, protect the football, be smart, turn it loose, and do not give this Purdue team any sign of hope. Make it miserable on them from the start of the game and impose their will on Purdue. If they can do that, Purdue will fold the tent and Indiana will come away with a decisive victory. If Indiana tinkers around with things and doesn't finish drives and having trouble on first down efficiency and second down efficiency, and they give Purdue a ounce of hope, they'll smell blood and it will be a dogfight, just like it was for them against Illinois and against Northwestern. And that's why those two games I wanted to show you, because Northwestern and Illinois had leads in those games that Purdue came back. And Purdue's been better in the second half most of the year than they have been in the first half. So I do appreciate you taking time out of your evening here on a holiday prior day to Thanksgiving. Again, I thank you for tuning in each and every week, being here to take in whatever I have to say, whether you agree with it or not. And I hope that I'm meeting what you envision for a show like this in terms of Indiana football and breaking down of opponents. And then, of course, talking about Indiana plus, minus, or negative. So remember, dress warm on Saturday. I will be in Bloomington to cover the game for 1380 The Fan up here in Fort Wayne, as well as the Believe Network. So I will be in Indiana to see the Indiana and the Purdue Boilermakers in the annual bucket game. So until then, I am the coach, Shannon Griffith. You have been watching the Hoosier Football Tailgate here on the Believe Network. Have a safe and happy Thanksgiving and be thankful for their loved ones. Good night, everybody.